What if I told you that one tiny hair tool, one finale date on a private island, and one reality TV couple called Nicolandria, that's Nic and Olandria from Love Island USA Season 7, have turned Ace, Taylor, Sierra, Huda, and basically the entire Love Island fandom into full-time detectives on this dating show? Because somehow, months after the villa, we're still sitting here replaying soul ties, arguing about the congratulations kiss, crying over letters on a beach, and now we're angry at a curling iron. Yes, a curling iron. The same fandom that survived Casa Amor, movie night, and the Nick Sierra Taylor chaos is now united against the hair machine that shall not be named. So today, we're going to talk about why one little Olvember moment, one evil styling tool, and one finale date have cemented Nicolandria, Nic and Olandria, as one of the most emotional arcs Love Island USA has ever given us, and why this Season 7 story refuses to end. Before we dive into the curling iron drama and the finale breakdown, do me one tiny favor. Tap that subscribe button. It's free, it makes the algorithm think you're a reasonable human, and not someone who rewatches the Soul Ties kiss frame by frame. Even though, let's be honest, you probably do. Alright, let's talk about why this hair machine, this couple, and this finale date still own all of us.
Here's the thing about curling irons. I used to barely think about them. They were somewhere in the mysterious tools that live in bathroom drawers category. Then Olvember happened, and suddenly I'm ready to start an international ban. Because in case you missed it, our girl Olandria had a shoot. She's working, she's quiet, she's clearly booked and busy, and then we find out through her snap that she accidentally hurt herself with, yup, the curling iron. Not dramatically, not some catastrophe, but enough for the fandom to collectively decide we are now anti-curling iron as a lifestyle choice. And here's where it gets funny. On the same timeline, Nic looks like he's on a plane, apparently heading to a photo shoot of his own. So you've got Nic in airport grind mode, Olandria in hair machine injury mode, and the entire Nicolandria Nation doing what we do best, turning random crumbs into a full emotional saga.
Anytime Olandria goes quiet, we know she's working. Anytime Nic is in a plane seat, we know something's cooking. This isn't just, oh, they're busy. This is, okay, what brand is it? What city are they in? What does this mean for the timeline? And suddenly that tiny burn from a hair tool becomes a symbol. It's not just, oops, I slipped. It's, wow, she's literally working so hard she's taking battle scars to bring us content. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, that hair machine that shall not be named does not deserve to be in the same sentence as Olandria's name ever again. But here's the real reason it hit so hard. We're not just attached to them as individuals, we're attached to the story that brought them here. And to understand why a curling iron injury can send us spiraling emotionally, we have to go back, way back, to where the ground first shook. 2 kisses, 1 couple, and a fandom that still can't decide which moment is more iconic. On one side, you've got Soul Ties. If you watched Love Island USA Season 7, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The challenge, the tension, the way the villa energy shifted after that kiss. A lot of fans will tell you that Soul Ties is when they saw Nic and Olandria differently, when this stopped being just another connection and started looking like a real, undeniable pull between them. The chemistry was loud. No cutaways, no confusion, just 2 people who clearly were not faking it. On the other side, you've got congratulations. And look, I'm going to expose myself here. I am a congratulations truther. If someone told me I could only watch one Nicolandria kiss for the rest of my life, Soul Ties or congratulations, I'm taking congratulations every single time. Here's why. Soul Ties is chaos. It's steamy, intense, the type of moment that makes Twitter forget how to act. But congratulations? That feels like the first major makeout as an actual couple. It's not just we're kissing because the challenge told us to, or let's see what happens. It feels like their first shared achievement. Their first, we did this together moment as Nicolandria. And this is happening against a backdrop where everything was messy. You've got Taylor and Olandria coupled up early. You've got Nic and Sierra closing things off, becoming exclusive, and the whole time people are side-eyeing the subtle looks between Nic and Olandria. Then, Soul Ties happens, and everyone's like, okay, something is going on here. Congratulations happens later, and it feels like confirmation. That's why these two moments are so important. Together, they're like two chapters of the same book. Soul Ties is when the world notices. Congratulations is when they notice too. But as powerful as both kisses are, they're still just the prelude. Because the moment that really broke all of us didn't have a challenge name. It happened in a regular recoupling with no costume and no game, just a choice. And that choice belonged to Olandria.
There's a specific night that will live in Nicolandria history forever. The final recoupling, where Olandria chooses Nic. To really feel this, you have to remember everything that came before. The Casa Amor twist, the dumping, the second chance. Nic and Olandria get eliminated together, then get pulled back, then are given the option to couple up to stay. Fans are screaming about how scripted it looks. Production is getting dragged, and everyone's debating if this is real or just the show bending over backwards for a storyline. And do you remember what they do with that opportunity? They choose friendship. They come back, recouple, and say they're better off as friends. And honestly, that made their eventual shift to romance so much more believable. Because when the dust settles, when Taylor is out of the picture, when Sierra is gone, when the noise quiets down, all roads still lead back to each other. So at that final recoupling, when Nlandria stands there and basically says, "This isn't about staying on Love Island. This is about me and how I want to spend the rest of my time here with him," that's the full circle moment. That's when it stops being about game strategy and starts being about her. You can literally feel the villa atmosphere change, and you can feel the fandom snap into place. People who were on the fence are suddenly all in. People who doubted are reliving every little look from week one. That speech sets up the emotional stakes for everything that happens next. Because once she chooses him like that, in front of everyone, the finale date isn't just a cute outing. It's the next step in a decision she's already made in her heart. Quick pause here. If you're still watching and reliving every single one of these moments in your head, go ahead and hit subscribe. It's basically your membership card to the I Take This Dating Show Way Too Seriously Club. And trust me, this channel is the group chat for that. All right, let's talk parents, private islands, and the picnic that took us all out. You know a connection is real when the moms are on board. By the time we hit the finale stretch of Love Island USA Season 7, Nic and Olandria have done the hard part. They've navigated Casa Amor, they've recoupled, they've chosen each other. Now it's time for the families to weigh in. Family Day does two crucial things for their story. It confirms that what we've been seeing isn't just in our heads. The people who know them best see it too. It gives Nic and Olandria confidence going into that final date. It's one thing to feel something, it's another thing to have your mom say, "Yeah, I see it as well." So when they step onto that private island date, what Nic jokingly calls Nlandria Island, they're not just two contestants on a reality show. They're two people who know their families approve and that the whole of America has been low-key or high-key voting for them to win. This is after everything. After drama with Huda, after Taylor's exit, after Sierra's departure, after the ups and downs that had fans either calling them the most orchestrated story of the season or the most organic slow burn. The vibes going into this date are different. They're lighter, but deeper. You can tell they're both aware that whatever happens next isn't just about winning prize money. It's about whether what they have can survive outside the villa. And then we get the confessional.
If you ever doubted Olandria was all in, that confessional should have cleared it up. She's sitting there, asked about her date, and she says she's excited. She wants romance. She talks about how Nic makes her giggle, then drops her head with that shy little smile. That's not generic TV crush energy. That's, oh no, I'm down bad energy. Then we see her on the actual date. The white cover-up, the hat, the braids, the full island girl aesthetic with this little hint of southern flair. She doesn't even have to say anything. The styling alone says, yes, this is my romance episode. But the real gut punch isn't the outfits or the location. It's the letters. They sit down with champagne, the ocean in the background, and start reading letters from the people who love them most. And what those letters do is echo everything we just heard from their families in person. The world sees it. Their moms see it. Their friends see it. And now, on this random little island, they're being told in writing that what they feel isn't a fantasy. It's like the universe is saying, hey, you two aren't crazy for feeling this way. And somewhere in the middle of all that, they start talking about their relationship like a plant. Not a fling, not a storyline, a love plant. They talk about watering it, growing it, seeing where it goes after the villa. That language matters. They're not just saying, let's see what happens. They're saying, we're responsible for this. We're going to take care of it. For Nlandria, who hadn't been in a relationship for years, that's huge. At 27, 5 years is a long time to be single and protect your peace. And you can literally watch the moment where she lets the last layer of armor drop. Her body language softens. She leans into him more. The laughter gets easier. The eye contact gets longer. You can almost see the thought slide across her face. I've met my guy, and I'm going to let him be my guy. Meanwhile, Nic's right there with her. He looks at her like he's shocked that this is actually happening, but also like he knew from day one this was where they were heading. The way they talk about not wanting to imagine the future without each other, that's not a line. That's relief. And that's why that scene lives rent-free in our heads. Because it's not some wild, dramatic blow-up. It's quiet. It's soft. It's two people choosing each other when nobody's forcing them to. And months later, that's the moment we're still comparing everything to. A magazine shoot? Cool. A brand trip? Great. A random Olvember crumb? Love that. But nothing, and I mean nothing, hits like that champagne picnic and those letters. If you still get a lump in your throat when you rewatch that finale date, don't worry, you are very much not alone. There are two scenes from Love Island USA Season 7 that will always get me. Nlandria choosing Nic at the final recoupling and saying she's doing it for herself. The finale date with the letters and the love plant conversation on Nicolandria Island. Everything about those moments feels permanent. Part of what makes that date so emotional is that it's the opposite of the show's loudest drama. Season 7 had chaos, wild twists, and moments that made headlines for all the wrong reasons. You had people calling the season scripted, accusing production of forcing storylines, especially around Nic and Olandria. But then there's this little pocket of sincerity on a beach. No games, no challenges, just two people who have been through all of that pressure, who've been accused of being fake, sitting down and saying, we want to see where this goes. For real.
That's why people still argue online about whether they were real or strategic, but at the same time, those same people are rewatching that date crying over the letters. The emotions don't lie. You can't fake the way someone looks at you when they realize, oh, you're my person. And for fans like us, that finale date becomes the lens we see everything else through. Every time Nic gets on a plane, we go, where's he flying for the love plant? Every time Nlandria posts from a set, we're like, look at her thriving after that island. Every time they do an interview and mention how they were denying their feelings after Soul Ties, we go right back to that picnic like, yep, that's where you stop denying it. That's the power of that scene. It turned a controversial arc into a love story people still can't stop talking about. And the wildest part, the show ending wasn't even the end of the story. The finale aired, the prizes were handed out, and on paper, Nic and Olandria are the runners-up. Amaya and Brian win Season 7, the banners go up, and the season wraps. But emotionally, a lot of people walked away feeling like Nicolandria were the true main characters of that story. Then the post-Villa era begins. They do interviews where they admit they were denying their feelings for way too long after soul ties. They talk about how recoupling as friends turned into something deeper. They call themselves a power couple, not in an arrogant way, but in that we know what we have way. Articles start describing them as one of these standout connections of the season. Fans are split at first. Some still think production pushed them. Others think they're the most cosmic slow burn the show has ever produced. But nobody can deny they left a massive impact on the season and the fandom. Meanwhile, real life is happening. Flights, photo shoots, brand-adjacent moments, magazine spreads, public appearances. They're not locked in a villa anymore. They're out in the world, navigating this thing with cameras off and fans watching from a distance.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Olvember. Nic on a plane. Olandria on set. The hair machine that shall not be named striking her mid-shoot. A few months ago, that would have just been a random oops moment. Now, it's an entire fandom going, wow, she's literally out here working so hard, she's taking damage from equipment. And if I ever see a curling iron near her again, it's on site. All of these tiny crumbs mean something because of that finale date, because of that recoupling speech, because of those letters. Without those moments, this would just be two ex-islanders living their lives. With those moments, it's a story we're still invested in. And as for me, I'm not going anywhere. I am 10 toes down on this ship. This is my channel. This is my little corner of the internet where we take minor updates and turn them into full emotional essays. Speaking of which, if you've stuck with me this far, hit that subscribe button. It lets YouTube know you are officially part of the Nicolandria Nation and not just someone accidentally clicking a Love Island video at 3 a.m.
So where does that leave us? We've got a couple that went from maybe this is forced to, oh, this is real. We've got Soul Ties as ground zero, congratulations as the first big we, a final recoupling where Olandria chooses Nic for herself, and a finale date that turned a reality TV storyline into a love story people genuinely care about months later. We've got letters on a beach that still make people cry. We've got a love plant that's now being watered in real life through flights, shoots, events, and quiet moments we never see. And now we've got an entire fan base ready to fight a curling iron in the name of Olvember. All of it adds up to this. Nicolandria isn't just a ship name. It's a timeline. It's a slow burn. It's a story that outgrew the villa and moved into daily life. One crumb, one post, one little injury from a hair machine at a time.
If you're like me and you still get emotional every time you think about that champagne picnic, those letters, and that moment where you can literally see Olandria finally letting herself fall, then you already know. This story isn't over. The villa was just chapter 1. Drop your favorite Nicolandria moment in the comments. Soul ties, congratulations, finale date, the final recoupling speech, anything. I read everything, I respond as much as I can, and honestly, your theories are half the fun. And one last time before we dip out, hit subscribe, drop a like, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. It costs you nothing, but it keeps this little corner of the Love Island USA internet alive and thriving. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same ship. Later.